When you make a decision to move forward in your life and it's coming from the base of who you are, meaning that there's no more analysis, there's no more figuring it out, there's no questioning of it. It's a felt sense knowing in your body that that's the next step. When you've aligned with that decision and have no opposition in your own body to that decision, it sends out a ripple into the field of reality to support you. That field is coming, or that ripple is coming from the field of your own body. You know, you are a localized version of the grand field itself. So the ripple of your decision, of your consciousness lining up with your frequency and the expression of that, that is what's sending out the ripple. And you become an antenna of the information that you need to move forward. I have many, many stories of this. You know, this is synchronicity, but it's different when you know it's true. You're not surprised by the synchronicity. You're not surprised by the alignment happening outside of you or the coincidence. When you receive it, you don't question it because it holds the same energetic signature that you've sent out from your body. That is your conscious awareness aligned with the frequency of who you are. It's time to bring that thing into form, the next step of that thing. And life is like, yeah, I'm going to support that. Of course I support that because it's a clear signal of your movement, of your true movement into the actualization of who you are as a person, as an energy, as an energetic signature. So the ripple itself, it just becomes obvious. It's the next thing. What shows up as information is like, oh, duh. You know, there it is. That's exactly what I needed. And it's fast. It happens really fast. The best story I have of this that was just so obvious that that was what was happening. I was living in Seattle at the time in a house of 4 other people, so packed house. And I was starting to work with wood at that time. Not making the art that I make now, but I was starting. And I worked with trees and branches and stuff, and I really liked staining them, but I hated the chemicals of what's in the stain. I didn't like that I didn't know what was in it. I didn't like the smell. I didn't like the idea of just having to carry around these chemicals with me if I moved. And I didn't like coating the wood in that. You know, I was really interested in exploring how to make art from all natural materials to keep the consciousness of the materials intact, the creator consciousness. So once I decided that I wasn't going to make or use what wood stain was already on the market, I was like, okay, I have to learn how to make wood stain. But this was in like 2017, and there wasn't really any research available around how to do that. I hadn't discovered earth pigments yet. I hadn't discovered any of those things. But as soon as I made that decision, I just went about my life for the next couple days. I didn't tell anyone. I just knew that that was the next thing, that I wasn't going to use the wood stain and I wasn't going to make anything until I figured that out. 2 days later, I come home and my roommate is there, one of them, and she is very type A, like engineer at Boeing. I lived in Seattle at the time. Super nice, but you know, as far as like on the spectrum of roommates, she was on one end and I was on the other as far as like what we had in common, and just our way of being. So I definitely didn't tell her anything. But I come home and she's like, oh, Molly, I have a gift for you. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I just saw this book and I was like, oh, I think I should get this for Molly. And so she got it for me and it was really beautiful. I go over to the table and I look at the book and it's this like living room art book, you know, hardcover, very nice illustrations, well done. And it's called Make Ink. And I'm flipping through it and I'm like, oh my God, like this is it, you know, this is how I'm gonna make the wood stain. But again, I didn't tell her anything. So I hugged her. I was like, thank you so much. Like, this is exactly what I need. And she's like, oh, yeah, you're welcome. Like, it's so random. Like, I just felt like I had to get it for you, like, whatever. So that's amazing in and of itself. But it goes deeper. So I'm flipping through the book, and it's this guy who lives in New York City, and he makes inks from rusty nails and like debris that he finds on the floor, like urban setting. I was more interested in like the natural way of doing things. So I'm flipping through the book, I'm looking at some recipes. He's using oil or alcohol, both things I didn't want to use. And I flip to a page and it says walnut ink. I'm like, oh my God, walnuts. And at the time, I was working on a farm that had a huge walnut grove. And I would spend a ton of time there. Like, I would camp in the walnut grove. I would take naps in my hammock there. I used those branches to make wood stuff with. Like, I was connected to the walnuts. And there's a plethora of walnuts every season that drop in that grove that just mold on the ground. The recipe itself takes moldy husks from walnuts to make the ink. That's the pigment. And the ink that this guy made was alcohol based. So I took it though. Like, I didn't need the alcohol or the recipe. I just needed the walnuts. I needed to know that that was the pigment. And here I am with all of that already in my reality. I already had access to the walnut grove. I had access to unlimited walnuts. I had access to the wood. I had all these things. I just couldn't see it as that being the solution, but it was there. So that's how life intervenes. Through this roommate of mine, I was given the information that I needed to see my environment in a way that allowed me to take the step that I knew I needed to take. I didn't have to change anything. I just had to change my perception of what was available to me, of the resources that I already had access to. And this is the shift. The information that you need is already here. Everything is already available. It's just about aligning to that action being taken next. And in doing that, you become the magnet of the person, the energetic magnet of being the person that is doing that thing, that is taking that step. And so the information that you need, the perceptual shift that is required to become that person, becomes available to you to step into. If she hadn't given me that book, I might have found it anyways, right? But because I was so steadfast and this was the next thing that I had to do and figure out, 2 days later, there's my answer. Life sped up for me to meet me where I was, to meet me where it's at. This is how life communicates through you, how creation communicates through you. It's a felt sense knowing in the body. It's an energetic signature that you're aligning to as a creator. Everything is available. Just because it wasn't available on the shelf in the store doesn't mean that you can't make it, that you can't be the person that does it the way that you actually want to do it. That's how you propel things forward. That's how you evolve reality through your own creative power. But it's not just you. You're not alone in doing it. Life is supporting you through any instance that you are in, any environment that you're in. You can move out of. You can find the resources that you need to take that next step. Start where you are, do what you can. Life will meet you there because it is the field. When you recognize yourself as that field, then all of the information you need becomes available to you through the intangible grid that you're connected to. And it shows up in miraculous ways, in magical ways. When you let go of it needing to be a certain way, it will come to you in a way that is easy and coherent to your everyday life. The only thing that you have to do to prepare for that is to make the decision that that is the way that you are moving, and you're not going to settle for anything less. and you're not going to trip out about the decision in your own mind. It just delays life's way of working to meet you, to give you the information, to give you the solution. So understand that alignment is the only task that you have, and life will always meet you there, because your alignment is conducive to its evolution, to its own data collection as a field, and who you are as a conscious creator. It's truly all available. You just have to shift into the person that's already doing it, so that you can see in your reality how it is already available to you.